Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious. Today, we've got potpourri of space news going on, and we're going to look at the Hall of Fame induction of Marsha Ivins and David Hilmers from Marty Winkle-Eye's perspective. Marty's here overlooking our intern here in our Streamlabs production of Stay Curious on YouTube. We welcome Logan Cope, who's been uh, almost a month here, an intern with us from Eastern Florida State College and doing a great job. Marty's looking over his shoulder there. Marty, we're going to talk about a fun weekend we had. You and I both kind of did separate things. I ditched going out there for the underneath Atlantis that we're looking at here because there was a launch going on and traffic was building up and I didn't want to get caught in it. But here's what it looked like with the people in the crowd here. You see Marsha Ivins' picture up on the wall there, Atlantis above us there. Just a beautiful scene. Anytime I go in that building, which is usually at least once a week, I just stare at awe at this wonderful, huge uh, spacecraft that did so much for us. So hope you all enjoy our little program today. We got a lot of exciting space news to talk about. So I know Dave Stangy's on top of that up in Michigan, and I heard from going to talk a little bit about some of the people we heard for. We want y'all to keep your thoughts and prayers for um, our executive director, Karan Conklin, shown there with me out of focus. That was out of a magazine article, Space Coast Living, that hit the stands this week, and I posted that on our Facebook page, and Carlton Bailey's got the cover shot, and I'll show you all that tomorrow's program. We'll get into that a little bit of the Carlton Bailey's shot of the last rocket. Was a Delta rocket launch is on the cover of that. But Karan is in a private room, and we want everyone to know that she's stable. She still needs a lot of medical care, so keep her and her husband, Mark Conklin, and their family in your prayers there. Thursday, we're going to have Bert Dick on the show. Bert was on before, kind of talking about his life, how he got into the space business of being the managing director there of memberships at Astra Magazine. That's the flagship of National Space Society. So always looking forward to our good new friend, Bert Dick, who a lot of you space geeks know, and he was out. He's going to talk about the International Space Development Conference that I've asked Doug Forrest, artist and art worker out there in the West Coast and Los Angeles area. Doug, you got a picture or two from the ISDC or the International Association of Astronomical Artists. Please let me see those so we can share them with Bert on Thursday. And we're getting ramped up for our Space Memorabilia Show, July 27th at the Beachside Hotel. We have vendor tables available for $40. In fact, I thought we'd gotten a publicity out on that 2 weeks ago, but we hadn't. So we'll get that out right away. But we've been talking about here on Stay Curious. Ken Havicott, Memorabilia, is going to be our main sponsor. And thanks to Bid Again Auctions, which does all of our auctions. Chuck Jeffrey is the president of that. And Computers Advancing Education is an awesome nonprofit in Brevard County that gives laptops to kids that need them. And they've helped us out a lot, being a nonprofit. Well, how many humans are orbiting Earth? We always like to keep tabs of that. 10. This is June 4th. It has been 10 since May 7th. We've got 7 on the International Space Station, 3 over my shoulder there on the Tiangong Space Station of China, and three all superpowers, 3 Chinese, 3 Russians, 3 Americans. And hoping to add to that 2 more Americans, Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore, tomorrow morning. I love that shot. That is such a cool shot. And I think Mark Usiak took that. The Atlas rocket, Atlas 5 is not as large as the 212-foot tall SpaceX Falcon 9. I think it's around 160 feet tall. This is Marty, but there's the White Room and the Calypso, the Boeing Starliner on top of it. And just talk a little bit about Butch. Their third time's a charm. We hope tomorrow. Marty, 10:25. Is that the time?
10:52.
10:52. Had it backwards there. 10:52 is the little before 11 o'clock. We'll be out at Spaceview Park watching it. And Butch Wilmore is 62 years old. He's got 178 days in space. This will be his second space flight. He was up on Expedition 41 and 42 in 2014 was his last flight. So 10 years ago. And the ISS did not have the, he was up there the mission before they put the cupola up there. So 130 was the mission, and he was piloted 129. So Butch is a Murfreesboro, Tennessee man. He's got two daughters. All right, we always neglect to say that this 62-year-old man's got a wife and two daughters that he leaves the Earth to go do his job for. He's got 663 aircraft carrier landings as a Navy pilot. And he'd probably say to you, which one do you want me to tell you about? Because they seem to remember all their aircraft landings, especially the ones at night. So, Butch, we wish you a great error-free, smooth countdown tomorrow. We'll be praying for you all to make that 9-minute journey up to orbit, and then they'll take a day to loop around to get to the International Space Station. Now, Sunny Williams is 58 years old. She last flew 14 years ago, folks, yet she's got 321 days in space. She was born in Euclid, Ohio. She is of Slovenia descent. Okay, I thought there was some Persian in there, but she's I was thinking of what, born in Euclid, Ohio. Her Slovene American family. Okay, so she is she last flew to space on Expedition 32 and 33, about 10 expeditions before Butch 12 years ago. And she has a total of 322 days in space, all right? 7 EVAs, 50 hours of EVA time. Yet she's not been in space for 14 years. And though I thought that was wrong, Kay Hire astronaut straightened me out and said, no, these two are test pilots. This is what they want to do. They're testing this new spacecraft, and this new spacecraft is as important and such a maiden flight as STS-1, the first flight of Columbia. So we wish them well and hope that everything goes good. And we want them to get up there with their friends. The Atlas 5, thanks, Marty, is 191 feet tall. So I said 160. I was way off, but it's a little bit shorter than that Falcon 9. Let's take a look at it right there. Yeah. So thanks for looking that up. It's kind of an interesting stat, though, isn't it, Marty? You wouldn't think it would be. By the way, Suni is married to a federal police officer in Texas. They've been married for more than 20 years. They both flew helicopters in the early days of their career. His name is Michael Williams. And she has a Jack Russell Terrier named Gorby, who is featured with her on the Dog Whisperer television show back 14 years ago. So anyway, a little bit about those wonderful astronauts there. Hope the next time we talk about them, it's in a picture situation with the 7 astronauts that are just dying to go up there. I watched a couple ISS videos, and Tracy Caldwell Dyson and Janet Epps, the 2 other women up there, are talking about, we can't wait to see Sunny up here again, and it's just going to be a great reunion for both of them. Then they'll go and look out that cupola for the first time. So that docking will happen sometime Thursday with the Expedition 71 crew up there. And there's Janet Epps I talked about on the right there, and Tracy's in the background there. And this is how many vehicles are docked to the ISS. We got 4. We've had up to 7. So they're going to probably dock right here in the front. There below Crew 8 Dragon. There's a port right there to the left below it there. That's probably where they're going in. The other spaceship that's crewed is MS-25 right there behind me. And the other that is going to be up there till September. The Crew 8 Dragon and the Soyuz 25 will come back sometime in September. Okay. I think the Soyuz will come back first with 2 Russians that have spent over a year up there. And Tracy Caldwell, that'll have another 6 months under her belt. And then the Progress and Cygnus are supply ships up there. This is not a photograph. This is an artist rendering. Well, I'm going to be setting my alarm, make sure I'm up by 8 o'clock in the morning. And you may laugh at that, some of you early risers, but I go to bed at 12 or 1 o'clock, okay? Not 9:30 or 10 like you, Marty. All right.
Still, to set your alarm.
You're tuckered out at 10 o'clock. Don't kid anybody, but yeah. I usually get up around 7:30, but yes. This Behemoth is going to be launched for the 4th time, that they're going to be doing this. And this is going to be so amazing. They're incredible to watch. They're like though there's no crew on board. I'm looking for my notes over here, of course. Though there's no crew on board. Wow, the drama of this. The Thursday morning Starship and Super Heavy rockets going to be loaded with more than 10 million pounds of propellant. They've already had 2 dry rehearsals of this. This will be the 4th flight of Starship. The first 3 test flights took place, of course, March of this year, where we saw it at least make a suborbital flight before it broke up. But those re-entry photos that it was beaming back were awesome. And then they had 2 attempts last year, last November and last April. All right. But Flight 3 lasted nearly 50 minutes before it broke up apart during a re-entry in the Earth's atmosphere. So this is the same thing. They want to get it up in space. They want to orbit the Earth and bring it down. They're not bringing either of the vehicles. I think the Super Heavy, one's called the BFF rocket, the Big Friggin' Rocket, the Super Heavy they're calling it now, is going to land. It's not going to land, but someday it will. But they're going to try all the dress rehearsal stuff they need to do. So we will be watching that Thursday morning. And maybe the docking of Starliner will be happening about that same time. But I think the most interesting news of the week is China landed on the moon Sunday. All right. This is a photo taken by a mini rover. Look at the tracks over here. We told you there was a little rover attached to the side of it, and it scooted over and snapped this picture of the lander Chang'e 6. Okay, Chang'e 6 is what this is called. That is the robotic arm after it had dug holes and drilled a hole into the south pole of the moon. All right, we're going to show you where it landed here in a minute. But one of the last acts that it did, Marty, was raise the Chinese flag. You see that little red Chinese flag there? It's made out of asbestos, so it won't deteriorate in sunlight. And they hope the Chinese astronauts in 2030, maybe 2029, maybe 2031, but I think it's going to be right close that they will do it, but at least by 2030. Now, the top half of this has already gotten the 4 pounds of rock and samples, core samples, went down about 2 feet. It's already blasted off and is orbiting the moon now, all right? And I watched it on TV, on YouTube, and I can't believe that China, the communist country that is our adversary, is broadcasting this in our face. Russia usually shows us stuff a day or 2 late, but they almost are showing this to us live. Look at the landing gear, Marty. Look how widespread that is. What that reminds you of, your beautiful lunar module, okay?
The whole thing reminds me of the lunar module except for the solar panels.
Yeah, it does. Marty said it reminds him of the lunar module except for the solar panels. And they probably didn't put solar panels because they weren't going to be there that long. But we didn't have, no, duh. We talked about that before, Marty. Solar panels weren't developed that well in 1969, 70, 71 to be folded up and so forth. They were on some interplanetary spacecraft had them, but they're probably too much weight. Did you have any, go ahead, Marty's going to talk. Logan, key that UCAC finally microphone there so Marty can talk.
Not only was it
It's on now.
What? Yeah, go ahead.
And not only wasn't it developed in 69 or 70, 71, you would have to have backed up 10 years from that to design it and get it modified to install on a lunar module.
Ah,
So
yeah.
we're decades away.
So, but yeah, that does remind you of the LEM, and very, very much so. The legs are spread out there. The India lander that toppled over and the Intuitive Machines of America, Houston company that toppled over, both had the legs tucked underneath the body. Okay. And I hope they figure out that, like the Surveyor spacecraft, you got to spread those legs out there. And, so I watched it blast off, Marty, not from this angle, though I think they probably have an angle of this. It was actually a camera that was like embedded, like where that flag is, and it was looking up, but it seemed like that was inside the lander. It must have been one of the cameras for the landing that maybe they turned it around, and you could see it shoot right up like out of a hole it was looking at. So it's orbiting the moon now with the 4 pounds of rock. It will orbit the moon for I don't know how long exactly, but it has to rendezvous with another orbiter that's going to push out of the moon's orbit. And June 25th is when they're talking about the whole thing landing. I got notes on that. Let me get those notes there. Yeah, here we go. It's on the far side of the moon, not the dark side. All right, it's the back side of the moon, though it gets as dark as the front side sometimes. The symbolic moment of takeoff. China reported became the first country to display its national flag on the moon's far side. All right, so they got to brag about the propaganda. Collected rocks. Its return journey to Earth is estimated to take 3 weeks, with landing expected in China's Inner Mongolia region around June 25th. It doesn't have a powerful rocket. This whole thing that we're looking at there is probably the size of a SUV in your driveway. Just put it on its tailgate, and it'd probably look like that. But so it doesn't have a lot of payload for fuel, so it's using a circuitous method to keep going out further and further from the moon until the Earth's gravity captures it. So that'll take about 3 weeks. The successful return of samples would give China a head start in harnessing their strategy and scientific benefits of expanded lunar exploration, which NASA Chief Administrator Bill Nelson calls a new space race. Finally, our administrator is saying we are in a space race with China. And here's where it landed. Ironically, in a crater called Apollo. See that rectangle there on the bottom in the red? That is where it landed. The crater's name's Apollo. All right, this is a big impact basin called the South Aitken Basin. That that whole dotted line is an impact crater, and right there's the South Pole. And the dark craters never ever see sunlight, and we believe that there's a lot of ice buried there, ice that came from comets. All right, this is the second time China, and here's what that looks like from Lunar Orbiter in 1968 before we landed, that whole big basin there. So let's see if I can figure out where it landed. It's probably somewhere one of this Apollo craters is one of those in the middle there. How ironic that they're bringing back something from Apollo crater named after our successful moon program. But that's a picture over 60, almost 60 years ago. China plans, so the backside of the moon blocks the Earth from view, so you can't have communications with it. So what China did was they put an orbiting way outside the moon, a spacecraft. It's a communication spacecraft called QQual-2 in March. And we've not done that yet. To talk to the backside of the moon or the South Pole where we want to land Artemis, we're going to have a communications satellite that will not be blocked by the moon and have full view of the Earth. Well, China's already doing that, and so they're set up for their crewed landing. So they're planning 2 more missions in this Chang'e series, okay? Next year and the year after. And in 2026, maybe, they'll send a lander that might make Lego bricks out of ice and the lunar regolith there, if they find everything and it goes all well. So hope that you like this, Staying Curious, but this is another propaganda thing that's just unbelievable in a way. That is the digging scoped up where the scoop picked up on the moon of Chang'e 6, okay, just hours ago, literally, less than 24 hours ago. It landed, and 48 hours later, it's orbiting the moon with its lunar booty. And the big, Twitter or whatever's going on in China is this mimics the first character of the Chinese symbol for China. Okay, so they think on purpose. Trending on China's X-like Weibo platform shows the drilled surface in the shape resembling the Chinese character zong, or middle, in English, the first character in the Chinese word for China. So, though it is a tremendous scientific achievement, no doubt about it, they're propagandizing as much as they can. And we have never, America, repeat, has never brought back a piece of the moon from a robot, all right? We brought back pieces of 2 comets and an asteroid from a robot, okay, with the help of ESA did that. And that Comet Bennu from OSIRIS-REx is on display in 3 museums around our country. But as close as it is and easy it is, we've not done any robotic harvesting lunar soil. China's now done it twice if they bring it back. Russia did it 3 times in the 70s and 80s and gave up on that. So that was after our moon landings. All right. Well. You know what? I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to put on my party hat because it's a happy birthday to 2 astronauts who were peacocks. They were chosen in the astronaut class called the Peacocks. We have happy birthday to Shane Kimbrough, turning 57 years old today. And there's Shane, and I wanted to put up there Shannon Walker. And Shannon is turning 59 years old today. Both still astronauts. Both have been commanders of the International Space Station. Both have flown up on Crew Dragon spacecraft. Let's talk about Shane Kimbrough here first. He was both were born in Texas too, by the way. He was born in Houston, Texas, June 4th, 1965. Westbury High School, Rice University, and he's married. I'm talking about Shannon. Well, yeah, back up there, Mark. Slow down. I'm all excited about that Chinese. What a coup, really. All right, Shane Kimbrough, 57 today, born in Killeen, Texas, home of the Army Air Force base there, or Army base there, not Air Force, but Army base there. June 4th, 1967, a veteran of 3 space flights, still an active astronaut. He has flown on the space shuttle and Russian Soyuz and went up on a Crew Dragon. So I think there's about 8 people that have done that. Now I need to add that up. Selected in 2004, part of the Peacocks. Spent 16 days on 126, then on a Soyuz capsule expedition 49. Here he is, one of our most experienced spacewalkers. 10 spacewalks. That's nothing to sneeze at. And Kimbrough on a video says 5 things people don't know about him are, and I find this very interesting, Marty. 1, he went to elementary school in Germany, but he's childhood friends with the actress Julia Roberts. They went to middle school and high school in Smyrna, Georgia. Supposedly really good friends. Julia Roberts. He's a U.S. Army jump master and an Apache pilot. He loves all sports, and he has a passion for teaching youth at church. So God bless you, Shane Kimbrough, 57 years old today. The proud uh, town comes from the Killeen, Texas there. So, all right, let's go to have my party hat on here for Shannon Walker. All right, turned 59, born in Houston, Texas, Westbury High School, Rice University. She is married to fellow astronaut Australian-born Andy Thomas, who's 72 years old. Did I say she was just 59? Yes, I think I did, Marty. She has got more time in space than Andy Thomas, though, by over 100 days, I think, in there. She's still an active astronaut. She's going to the Hall of Fame someday, I think. She's had long duration flights up there, but still an active astronaut. And there she is in a Soyuz spacecraft, okay, which she did her long expedition crew up there on a TMA, 167 days on that trip. And then she was on SpaceX Crew 1, the first operational flight of Crew Dragon, and then spent 167 days as Expedition 64. And for 11 days, she was the third female commander of the International Space Station. So well-deserved. Happy birthday to you, Shannon Walker. And, yep, Marty, you got...
Yeah, just a little comment. Her smile rivals Winston Scott. She got such a nice big smile.
Who? Oh, she does?
Yeah, look, back up.
Oh, yeah, her smile does
yeah.
rival Winston Scott's. You bet that right. Yeah, she's beautiful. And there she is in a crummy picture with Andy and her. Let me make that small so it looks better there. Obviously at an airport catching a flight somewhere, I would say. But, yeah, so we're, I think Andy's in the Hall of Fame. There's 109 now, I think, inducted into the Hall of Fame. So one other news item that slipped your interest, I'm sure, is China has been orbiting this space plane, okay, for about 6 months. They launched it right after we launched our X-37B space plane. And insiders have seen that it has, when it first orbited this space plane, which would fit inside the shuttle, okay, it's less than 30 feet long, very mini, would fit in your driveway, okay. It had a bunch of satellites that were exited from it, all right. Probably no bigger than a beach ball, but insiders watching space can see all this stuff all the time. And so they're talking about that it just had another satellite released from it that was station keeping with it, all right? Either they're practicing putting things in and out of there, or this is another satellite. And, of course, just like our X-37B, it's a spy plane. Of course, we say that we've got a lot of polymers and materials and things like that on there. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze a minute. There we go. We should be okay. Pardon me there. I haven't sneezed many times on Stay Curious, but I had to. So anyway, this is the China's equivalent to our X-37B, and just wanted you to know that insiders are keeping eyes on it. Don't know what it's doing, but it keeps changing orbits like ours does. And we've also got Russian satellites that are trailing our spy satellites, and we know that they're taking pictures of them. And could they do something dastardly like spray black paint over our sensors or something like that instead of blowing them up? You bet they can. And you know what? If we think it and we think they're doing it, we're already doing it. So we'll keep you apprised of these space planes from time to time because you want to stay curious and nobody else is. So thank you for watching today. Who we got watching today? I didn't beam up my computer here, as we're going to get into a little bit of personal experience at the Astronaut Hall of Fame. There, I can bring it up right there and put the sound down and say hi to Dave Stange and Gary Gerald and Mark Usiak and Tommy Usiak, and we know you're all thinking about Karan, and we saw your prayers on there, and Sam Celentano also. And Amy Collins says the moon hasn't changed much. No, it hasn't, Amy. In about 3 billion years, it's pretty much what it looked like 3 billion years ago. So thank you, Tom, for Celentano, for watching us there. And like I said, thanks for keeping Karen in your thoughts, everybody, as I got my smart tablet up there. That's interesting, isn't it? You'll see me do that. So, check out the time delay. Let's talk about a little off the cuff and a little bit some reading some notes here about David Hilmers. And oh my gosh, I want to get that note about the Starship notes. There we are. I want to make sure it was something about Hilmers there is pretty cool. 4 flights for him. Marsha Ivins got 5. And I learned something about both of them. I briefly talked to both of them at the hotel. I wasn't involved in anything but the astronaut drink-a-thon, the cocktail challenge. Yeah, but, Marty's laughing there. We got some pictures of that. We showed you earlier in the week, but last Friday, in fact. There's the cocktail challenge. What I wanted to say is both kind of introvert people, particularly Marsha, okay. And I rode the elevator in the hotel down with her, and it's just her and I said, hey, congratulations. She goes, it was a moment. And I go, well, it was your moment. I mean, I said, wow, 5 missions. I'm so glad this was for you. And then she said to me, my feet are killing me. I haven't wore high heels for that long in years. And and I'll tell you something else she said here too when I talked to her. But there's the cocktail challenge. We had 3 astronauts: Scooter, Scott Altman, Chris Ferguson, Fergie, and Rick Mastriccio. Don't know what his nickname is. And they all had these cocktails, a lot of bourbon and whiskey in them. Real manly drinks, no fruity type stuff, though the one's got cherries in it and the other raspberry. This is the winner down here. Ferguson won for his, he did a tribute to Gemini 6 and the general, Tom Stafford, who passed away, who he knew quite well, and mixed up a drink in his honor, and he won it. There is the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation president, Kurt Brown, and there's Scooter beside him, and Fergie, and then Mastraccio. And, of course, Bob Cabana got in the picture there at Zarella's, all right? And there's what Zarella's looks like for all of you that here see all the posts that we eat there quite frequently. There's some of the other astronauts there. You had Bonnie Dunbar. Well, beside the red shirt of Cabana is Nicole Stott. Bonnie Dunbar, that's Pinky Nelson, and Brewster Shaw there. And a couple other astronauts were there that left. Kay Heyer left before the picture was taken. So did Joan Higginbotham and Bernard Harris. There's Marty with Brewster Shaw. And what key that USIAC microphone. What'd you talk to Brewster about, Marty? Leave the microphone on there and help me a little bit. You heard a lot of this.
I used to put on a race for United Space Alliance called Beat the Boss. And Brewster's one of our, he was our fastest.
Now, what kind of car races?
No.
What kind of race,
I
Marty?
only know of one race. It's a 5K race.
Oh, okay.
This was a 5K. But all my races are running races. And Brewster he joined us when he was at KSC. And Brewster he was the fastest boss we'd ever have out there.
Was he?
So I used to try and slow him down. I sewed some fishing weights into his shirt. And then we finally took it off. But he's just a really nice guy. Hadn't seen him since probably in over 20 years, probably 30 years now. The only thing that's changed about him, he grew a beard. But it's the same Brewster.
But he remembered you, and you had a nice conversation. Don't key that microphone off. We got a couple of things here to talk
We
about.
get feedback if I keep it on.
Huh?
We get feedback.
Oh.
Echo effect.
Oh, I got you. Okay. There I am talking to
Bernard.
Yeah, Bernard Harris. Yeah, Bernard Harris and Mr. Jim Jameson's beside me there. He was the deputy director of NASA in an interim way there. And we hope to get this guy on here. Bernard Harris, very engaging. He lives in Houston area, and I was recruiting him for the astronaut encounter out there for Winston Scott there. And there's an, I don't know why your picture did that, but there's Chris Calley, renowned world artist. Hi, Chris, with Rick Mastraccio there. Rick, a very interesting astronaut. He now works for Northrop Grumman in Washington, but he also rode a Soyuz spacecraft and a space shuttle. And when he mixed his drink, Marty, we need to get him on. He was all about the shuttle. He said the space shuttle is the spaceship. It was the most beautiful spaceship. He's been in that cramped Soyuz, and he even criticized those capsules aren't anything compared to the greatest spaceship ever built. He said it flew like a dream and worked great. And I think he did a couple spacewalks. I know he did a couple spacewalks because he was talking to Connie about his spacewalks there. So there's the beautiful scene underneath Atlantis at the Atlantis building at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. Last year it wasn't all that full, I don't think, as I see there, Marty. Like I said, I opt to not go to it there. But you did, so thank you for these pictures, as well as some of the pictures that we harvested from the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. And Caroline Shoemaker's doing a great job there with her crew. They were exhausted after this, I know. So William Whiting says hello, Mark and Marty. And Carlton Bailey's out there at his Animal Central Cirrus Flower Farm out there. So this is what it looked like for you all that weren't there. You had the Master of Ceremonies above my head, Mr. John Zarella, who was got the a wonderful achievement award for his reporting for CNN and TBS on shuttles. There's Marsha waving, so had quite a big banner there. Her speech, Marty said, was about 5 minutes. Who introduced her?
I really forget.
Okay. All right. And and there's David Hilmers coming out. All right. So each one had a presenter that gave a talk about their history and why they should be a hero in the Hall of Fame. And then they came out, and Marsha is a very soft-spoken and short-spoken woman. I learned that by talking to her a few times. She's almost embarrassed for this accolades, isn't she, Marty? There she is there. She really, understands why it's there. But Marty, you said in her speech, she said she'd rather be talking about baking than, but there's David, and everyone said that that's Norm Thagard did a great job introducing him. Of course, you're introduced by a former Hall of Fame member, which I believe now is 109 members in that astute body, and there they are. And if you have, I didn't put that in there, I should have. The Astronaut Hall of Fame at Kennedy Space Center are these acrylic lit from behind portraits of the astronauts with their mission patches on the bottom there. And those are what will be inducted. Maybe I go in there later this week. I'll see them hanging up there, Marty.
Let's do that.
So we'll have to do that, and I'll bring you a picture of them. It was really an honor for me to kind of surprise Tom Jones when he was on our show. And you need to watch Tom Jones's, just Google that on YouTube. His great interview with us talking about his wonderful book, Space Shuttle Stories, which I really enjoy. It's a book you can pick up anytime. You don't have to read it from back to front. You just start reading about missions. It's great. But Tom Jones, we showed his Hall of Fame portrait up there, and he got a little emotional about it, as he well should, because he's a good guy. And there's the cadre there that Marty took that picture. So you see, you got close to your heroes there. And that's I see up at the top there is Eileen Collins. And you've got Franklin Chang Diaz. And then you got, let's just show you here the formal picture. On the outside there, Scooter. Front row is Scott Altman, Kathy Thornton. There you got Marsha and David and Bonnie Dunbar and Rhea Seddon. original female astronaut there. Then the back row there, you've got Eileen Collins, Franklin Chang Diaz. You got the surfing boy there, Pinky Nelson. In front of Pinky is that Williams?
Yeah, I think so.
We kind of get them mixed up. Tom Jones is next in that cluster. The woman in the back is Janet Cavandy, Marty. She comes to the Space Center a lot. Bob Cabana's in there. And then you've got way in the back is the last one in the center. That's Kurt Brown, Grunsfeld, Brewster, Thagard. There you got Hoot and Bob Crippen, Hoot Gibson, Bob Crippen, and the guy in the red tie. I think that's Buckley. I think that's Buckley. And there you got. Look at the look on Zarella's face there.
He's see Zarella.
Huh?
Maybe point out Zarella.
He's at the top up there, right above my head. Yeah, there's John Zarella there. Yeah. So really great. I think last year they had more astronauts there, but
Well, had other astronauts. Other astronauts were there that were not in the Hall of Fame.
right.
Like Nicole Stott was there.
Good point. Yes, I thought they had other Hall of Fame astronauts there, but yes, I know Kay Heyer was there. Don Thomas. Who else? Probably Winston was lurking around there.
Didn't see him.
Didn't see Winston. No, Winston was doing the astronaut encounter
Right.
pinch hitting for Norm. It was his week to do it there. So anyway, this is a picture I took of them in the lobby of the Cocoa Beach Hilton, so I asked Hilmers. I said, "Where you living now?" He says, "Australia." And I said, "Oh, really?" Because he grew up in DeWitt, Iowa. Born in Clinton, but considers DeWitt, Iowa to be his hometown. He Masters of Science at Cornell University, all right, Baylor Medicine School, and he was very involved with the University of Texas Health Science Center, and has done a lot of great medicine at Texas Health Science Center in his post-retirement, okay, in 2002 and on. So I don't know what I couldn't talk to him too much. They were getting ready to board the bus to come out, and Marty said they had a question and answer Kennedy Space Center, and only about 50 people were there. But he's got a veteran of 4 space flights, all right, 2 DOD classified missions, and he replaced Sonny Carter, who was killed in a plane crash at the last minute on STS-42. Tracking and relay station on there. How old is he? He's born in 1950, so he's 74 years old. But he lives in Australia and said he hadn't been on the Space Coast in 30 years. All right. Now he'd been in, of course, he'd been in California all that time. So great guy. He's got this book, A Man on a Mission. Okay. I've not read it. Don't really know much about that book. There he is in space. Okay. This gives you a good look at the some of the experiments and set up there in the lower bay of the space shuttle. And there he is with obviously a photographic camera to do some special work out the window. He's got, this is STS 36. Yeah, 36 was in 1990. All right, pre-digital era still, okay? But he's got some stuff hooked up there to it there. So that's David Hilmers. And here he is as a doctor at the Harris Health System up there. And in DeWitt, his hometown, he dedicated in the memory of his dad, Paul Hilmers, this new exercise equipment at the health center for Westbrook Park in memory of his late father. And Paul there. So obviously a great guy and so forth. So here's a beautiful picture of Marsha Ivins. Marsha, particularly known for her big hair in space. I will show you that in a minute. She is a Baltimore, Maryland native, and born in 1951. So, yep, she's 70, just turned 73 years old. Looks great. She's got 5 missions, 55 days in space. This was all before the International Space Station. Okay. Uh, I'll bet yeah, Marty, go ahead.
Just when you get a chance. Well, you mentioned her, Marsha's hair, and at the Sunday's Q&A session, someone asked about her hair, if anybody ever asked her to cut her hair. And what she told us was really interesting. People were writing in when they saw this picture from her, in space. They wrote in and to NASA explaining how unsanitary that was. They should not be wearing long hair like that. So NASA asked her to cut her hair, and she said it's not going to happen. They said, okay, eventually, well, all women will tie their hair back, so it's not floating around like that. And then I forget who the manufacturer was, but she got with some company, and that's when they came up with the dry shampoo that they use. Did not know about, so he thought that was interesting, where that shampoo came from. So it was all because of Marsha.
Very cool, Marty. All right. And Shane, I turned my mic off there so we wouldn't have feedback while Marty was talking there, if you were wondering. You caught it there, though, so good job there. That's a great story, Marty. I wondered about that myself. Breadcrumbs and so forth, hair follicles floating around. Of course, they would go to, you always find stuff. There we go. All right, we always stop. Yes, we're playing with my microphone here. So let's go to the next picture. There she is again, doing a camera in her hand there. She retrieved the long exposure duration facility. She was a robotic arm operator. She went to the Russian space station Mir on the second exchange, in there. But Marty, what she said to me, there she is up at the White Room there with... we've got Travis Thompson there with the astronaut. Oh, who's that astronaut? I knew I was going to forget his name. Kirby. Yeah, Kirby is who he's up there with the USA crew there, the White Room crew there. And there's old Travis there. He told us some good stories about her. And God bless you, Travis. We hadn't heard from him for a while, so hope he's doing well. And that's the saga of these two astronauts there. I wanted to tell you one thing about Marsha that she said on the picture that I took where they were standing there. Was I of course am giving her the pitch that we do our museum loves celebrating the space shuttle era, and we have a video podcast, Marsha, that we're constantly talking about the shuttles of the month and all the astronauts and your astronaut birthdays. And she said to me, good, the NASA TV hardly ever shows anything about the shuttle anymore. Okay. And I said, we're friends with NASA legend Jay Honeycutt, and Jay Honeycutt has told me many times, former center director and much, much more. Jay has said, I'm afraid when there's no International Space Station up there, no one's going to remember the space shuttle and all of us that worked on it. But as long as there's a moon up there, they're going to remember Apollo. And I said, Jay, you may have something there, but that's what our museum is all about. Not just the shuttle astronaut, but all astronauts. But we know our future financially is the shuttle era, because that's what got us here as a museum, is the Apollo era. And Marty is one of the youngest of all Apollo workers out there, proudly so. And we're losing all of them a lot quicker than we'd like. So one day it's going to be like the World War II vets as we get close to D-Day, Marty. And what's the 80th anniversary of D-Day? 80th anniversary of D-Day. So if you were 18 years old in World War II, you'd be 98. All right. So that window is closing quickly. We've only got 2 moonwalkers, Harrison Schmitt and the youngest is Charlie Duke, and they're both 88, looking at 89 years old this year. So, but Marsha was, I think she's got a point. The NASA TV Select. I wish they would put up there what year they're talking about, because I'll get sucked into something about the Artemis boosters and then realize, hell, that was 2 years ago they're talking about this footage. What's going on now is what I want to know. And if you want to know, you're going to stay curious here with us. So certainly delightful to talk to both of them briefly, and see all the astronauts walk by. It's kind of fun to be in the lobby. I had a reason to be there, but I didn't pay for a ticket to be at some of the events. And they gravitate. The pilots and commanders, everyone that flies in military gravitate together. Mission specialists are kind of in a clique talking with each other. The wives, I got to see beautiful Marie Fullerton talk to Norm Thagard's wife for a little while. She's a delight. But Marie Fullerton, thank you for supporting our museum. She's always anxious. She gave a great interview with us and her husband, Gordon, a year ago. So you want to check that out also. So we'll hope everyone has enjoyed this Stay Curious episode. We got another comment there. Okay.
Yeah, Mark, I got a comment. I'm surprised nobody noticed that you got a clean shaven face except for a mustache.
Well, how about that? Yes, I do, don't I there? Thank you, Marty. And when the first person said that to me, I was going to reply to them, I shaved my beard to support Karan. All right. I'm not going to shave my head. And cancer people do that, but our executive director, Karan, needs your prayers and thoughts. And I thought, I'm just going to cut off all the whiskers. I have a hard time cutting off my mustache, but it's support for Karan Conklin, our beautiful director. So
You get handlebars.
Yeah, get me some handlebars. Well, he was in the museum here, handlebar mustachioed Terry White, and Terry's going to be on the show on June 12th, a week from Wednesday, for his monthly appearance on Stay Curious. So let's see, we got anything else? Everybody's saying hello to Karan and so forth. She's in a private room, and we'll go out and see her, and we'll report tomorrow and future days how she's doing. So tomorrow we're going to hit up on some of those beautiful shuttles of the month of June. Okay, and was Marsha on one of those? Find out tomorrow, okay, as we look at the first time an American woman flew in space, 11 beautiful shuttles. They had 15 women of the 68 go up. That's one of the biggest ratios of any month. Had 2 Mir space station missions, the Alpha and the Omega of that wonderful program. So stay tuned for that, and also learn about some of the patches, because we love the artwork and talk about the patches. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And then Thursday, we've got, let me put Karan back up there. And then Thursday, we've got Bert Dick will be here. You're going to enjoy Bert. What a wealth of knowledge his is. Open mic. You got a question about National Space Society. If you've known Bert for a long time, like I know the USIAC brothers have, and I'd say Doug Forrest has too, well, send me something that I can make his face turn red over, okay? But it's got to be clean. So, so anyway, until next time, folks, I'm Mark Marquette saying thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.